In a dense Bavarian forest during a closed NATO demonstration, military observers witnessed a spectacle that felt more like science fiction than modern warfare. A tank rolled across open terrain, yet on infrared and radar systems, it wasn't there. This wasn't a sensor glitch. It was the unveiling of Germany's TANKAPA project, internally known as the Leopard 3 Phantom. Unlike its predecessors, this wasn't about adding more armor or a bigger gun. It was about battlefield deception. The Leopard 3 uses electro-optic camouflage panels that mimic the surrounding environment in real time. Think of it as digital chameleon skin, coupled with thermal disruption layers that erase its infrared trace and an acoustic dampening shell. The tank becomes a ghost. Enemy radars search for it in vain, while soldiers hear nothing but the forest wind. But this ghost doesn't act alone. Concealed bays release microdrone swarms that scout ahead, jam enemy signals, and spread misinformation before the tank itself appears, if it ever does. Artificial intelligence on board maps enemy sensors and creates decoys, weaving a web of confusion across the battlefield. For the first time since World War II, Germany may have built something that leapfrogs both the US and Russia in land warfare capability. It isn't just armor, it's a phantom on tracks. France's Vanta drone submarine, the silent predator of the deep far beneath the Atlantic, something stirs without sound, light, or trace. This is not a submarine in the traditional sense. It has no captain, no periscope, and no crew. France has built the Vanta, an autonomous underwater drone that glides like a manta ray and hides like a shadow. Developed by Naval Group under extreme secrecy, the Vanta is part drone, part assassin, part spy. Unlike conventional submarines, it never surfaces. Its bio-inspired fins ripple through the water silently, while its hull is coated with sonar-absorbing composites that scatter sound rather than reflecting it. The result? A ghost that can park beneath enemy destroyers without being noticed. But silence is only half its story. The Vanta can deploy EMP charges to fry ship electronics, scatter decoys to mislead torpedoes, or tap undersea communication cables to harvest intelligence. It doesn't just hunt, it listens. Even more terrifying, the Vanta can operate in swarms. A dozen of these unmanned predators shadowing a naval fleet could cripple sensors, blind sonar, and silently dismantle defenses. NATO war games already revealed mysterious sonar glitches near the Bay of Biscay, the Vanta's known testing ground. France has chosen silence as its weapon. While other nations battle on the surface, France watches from the abyss. For decades, the electromagnetic railgun was a fantasy relegated to laboratories and science fiction novels. Too much power, too much stress on materials, too unstable for war. Yet Japan, quietly and without spectacle, has pulled it from theory into reality. In 2023, aboard a Japanese maritime self-defense force destroyer, the railgun roared to life. Except it made no roar, no flash, no thunder. Only the invisible force of magnetism launches a solid metal projectile at speeds reaching Mach 6, tearing through the air faster than most missiles can fly. Unlike conventional weapons that rely on explosives, this railgun uses sheer velocity as its blade. The slug doesn't need to detonate. Its speed alone punches through armor, aircraft, and ships like a spear of lightning. There is no warning, no time for countermeasures. One moment the skies are clear, the next a hypersonic dart has already arrived. And the genius lies in its simplicity. No volatile warheads. No massive stockpiles of missiles. Just simple, stable rods of metal. Cheap to produce, easy to store. On a cramped destroyer, where space is precious, this changes everything. Each round is not only devastating, it is sustainable. But Japan's engineers did not stop there. They hint at a far greater purpose, intercepting hypersonic missiles themselves. A weapon that fires faster than the fastest threat, turning defense into offense and offense into absolute dominance. In the shadow of China's growing navy, Japan has armed itself not with spectacle, but with quiet inevitability. The railgun is no longer fiction. It is physics sharpened into a blade. South Korea's AI sentry guns. The machines on the border across the 38th parallel. In the silence of the Korean demilitarized zone, a different kind of weapon keeps watch. There are no soldiers visible, no patrols, no nervous hands on triggers. Instead, the guardians here are machines. The Samsung SGR A1 sentry system peers across minefields and barbed wire with thermal cameras and biometric scanners. It does not blink. It does not sleep. And unlike humans, it does not hesitate. Officially, South Korea insists a human operator must confirm before these machines fire. But leaked reports tell a darker truth. In certain configurations, the guns can operate on full autonomy. That means they can detect, decide, and destroy on their own. Each sentry holds machine guns capable of shredding dozens of targets in seconds. Their AI distinguishes animals from humans, civilians from intruders. A decision tree unfolds in milliseconds, friend or foe, life or death. And if an invader steps into its sight, the gun can unleash hell before human soldiers even radio an alert. Critics call it the dawn of Skynet, machines judging life with cold code instead of conscience. But for South Korea, pressed against the threat of North Korea's artillery only minutes from Seoul, hesitation could mean catastrophe. AI guns are not a luxury. They are survivors, anchored in steel bunkers, silently waiting for the day when war crosses the wire. The world debates ethics. On the DMZ, there is no debate. The future is already bolted into the ground. In an age of drones and missiles streaking across battlefields, Britain has chosen a weapon with no roar, no smoke, no trace, just a single, blinding beam of light. They call it Dragonfire, and it may be the most precise laser weapon ever built in Europe. When Dragonfire fires, there is no thunder, no trail arcs across the sky. A small quadcopter, flying fast and erratic, simply bursts into smoke, its rotors melted, its circuits scorched, all from kilometers away. The cost of that strike? Less than the electricity needed to boil a kettle of water. This is where Dragonfire changes the game. Traditional missile defense drains billions, each interceptor missile costing hundreds of thousands to destroy a cheap enemy drone worth only a fraction of that. But Dragonfire fires again and again, each shot a few pounds worth of energy. A weapon not just of precision, but of economy. Its secret lies in coherent beam combining, multiple fiber optic lasers fused into one concentrated stream. With sub-millimeter accuracy, Dragonfire can choose to disable rather than destroy, burning through a drone's single rotor or slicing open its optics without a fiery blast. The battlefield shifts from chaos to surgical strikes. Mounted on Royal Navy destroyers and tested on land vehicles, Dragonfire is not a prototype locked in labs. It is here, and it whispers of a battlefield where shells vanish midair, where aircraft fall from the sky without warning, where light itself is sharpened into a blade. Canada's quantum radar, seeing the unseeable while most nations race to hide. Canada has built a weapon that unmasks deception itself. In the frozen silence of the Arctic, scientists and defense engineers have created quantum radar, a system that could end stealth as we know it. Unlike conventional radar, which bounces radio waves and waits for echoes, quantum radar uses entangled photons, particles linked across space in ways even Einstein called spooky. When one photon is disturbed, its twin reveals the truth. Even stealth aircraft, designed to scatter or absorb radar, cannot hide from quantum entanglement. Imagine the battlefield shift. The F-35 Lightning, China's J-20, Russia's Su-57, jets built to be ghosts, suddenly glow on Canadian screens, their invisibility stripped away. Hypersonic missiles, once too fast for detection, suddenly leave trails in quantum signatures. The invisible becomes visible. And unlike traditional systems, this cannot be jammed. You can scramble radio waves, but you cannot jam the laws of physics. That is why American labs have quietly tried and failed to copy Canada's design, and why whispers in NATO circles place Ottawa ahead of even superpowers in this strange new domain. It is not a weapon that destroys. It is a weapon that denies invisibility, stripping away illusions. In a war of shadows, Canada has built the one thing every commander fears: eyes that see everything. The skies over Australia are no longer the domain of human pilots alone. Rising from secret hangars and test ranges is a new kind of hunter, the Ghost Bat, an autonomous combat drone that does not simply follow orders, it makes them. Developed between Boeing and the Royal Australian Air Force, the Ghost Bat was designed as a loyal wingman. Yet it is more than that. It can fly in formation with fighter jets, share targeting data, and if the moment demands it, unleash a missile strike without waiting for human confirmation. Unlike older drones tethered to ground control, Ghost Bat thinks in the air. Its AI evaluates threats in milliseconds, flanking radars, dodging enemy missiles, or even sacrificing itself to shield a manned jet. A machine that does not fear death becomes the perfect comrade in arms. Its internal bays carry bombs, jamming equipment, and surveillance tools, but its greatest strength is independence. In blackout conditions, no GPS, no satellite, no radio link, the Ghost Bat still navigates enemy territory with preloaded intelligence, silently completing missions where human pilots would be blind and lost. What unnerves military analysts is the scale. Ghost Bats are far cheaper than traditional fighters. They can be produced quickly, fielded in swarms, and coordinated into a storm of thinking machines. In tomorrow's skies, human pilots may not lead. They may command from behind, while machines like the Ghost Bat fight and fall in their place. Australia, long seen as a secondary power, has shocked its allies and unsettled its rivals. The Ghost Bat has no concept. It flies now. I'm learning now. And it changes forever the question of who, or what, pulls the trigger in war. Russia's Poseidon, the doomsday torpedo far beneath the oceans. Russia has unleashed a weapon so monstrous it belongs more to apocalypse myths than to modern arsenals. They call it Poseidon, an unmanned nuclear-powered torpedo, the most feared underwater weapon ever conceived. Unlike submarines bound by cruise and endurance, Poseidon needs neither. It glides silently for thousands of miles, powered by a nuclear reactor, charting its own course with autonomous navigation. It cannot be easily tracked, it cannot be easily stopped. But what makes Poseidon truly terrifying is its purpose. It is not built to sink ships. It is built to erase coastlines. With a warhead measured in multiple megatons, it can detonate offshore, unleashing a radioactive tsunami that engulfs naval bases and cities alike. Imagine a wave hundreds of meters high, rushing inland, poisoning the land for generations. This is not just war. It is annihilation. Western analysts once dismissed Poseidon as propaganda, until satellite imagery and leaked Russian documents proved otherwise. It is real. It is being integrated into submarines. And it may already be prowling the deep. Poseidon is not a tactical weapon. It is a weapon of despair, designed to ensure that even if Russia falls, it can drag its enemies into the abyss with it. There are no interceptors fast enough, no nets deep enough, no shields wide enough. Against Poseidon, the world is naked. The Americans call it a doomsday device. The Russians call it balance. The truth? It is a reminder that beneath the waves swims a silent god of vengeance, waiting for the day it is called. It has never been photographed, never acknowledged. And yet, within the Royal Air Force, the whispers of Project Ebon Blade stir unease even among allies. It is said to be Britain's leap into a realm no aircraft has yet mastered, a hypersonic stealth bomber that can fly unseen, strike anywhere, and vanish before defenses even know it was there. Leaked files, heavily redacted, suggest speeds above Mach 5. But speed is only part of its terror. Ebon Blade is rumored to wield thermal cloaking, masking its heat signature so completely that even infrared satellites would see nothing but empty skies. Not radar, not heat sensors, not even the keenest electronic eyes could mark its passage. Its delta-wing design, possibly fused with plasma-based drag reduction and experimental scramjet propulsion, hints at a craft designed for the edge of space. Civilians near secretive Scottish airfields have spoken of sonic thuds without visible aircraft, contrails that dissolve unnaturally fast, echoes of something not yet revealed. But it is not speed or stealth alone that frightens analysts. It has a purpose. Unlike the UK's submarine-based deterrent, this weapon would give Britain a first-strike ghost, a bomber able to penetrate Russian or Chinese defenses undetected and unleash kinetic or EMP strikes at will. No missile launch signature, no warning arcs on radar, only sudden silence as power grids die and defenses crumble. Whether real or illusion, Project Ebonblade is a shadow that haunts the skies, and the very silence of official denial may be its loudest confirmation. The United States' hidden electromagnetic dominion, the weapon Russia tried to copy, it did not leave a crater. It did not roar. It did not flicker across radar. And yet, when it appeared over Syria, Russian convoys froze. Drones fell from the air. Commanders, once confident, were cut off from their troops, blind, mute, furious. A weapon with no official name had spoken, and the battlefield fell silent. Insiders describe it as an electromagnetic warfare platform born in the black budgets of Groom Lake, beyond DARPA, beyond classified. Its purpose is not destruction, but domination of the spectrum itself. Unlike the crude blast of an EMP, this system works with surgical precision. It scrambles enemy radars, spoofs satellites, makes aircraft appear motionless, makes convoys disappear, and inverts infrared signatures to blind heat-seeking missiles. It can sever encrypted communications and replace them with ghost signals, creating entire false realities on enemy screens. For the Russians in Syria, it was as if the battlefield had been rewritten. Radars showed nothing. Feeds turned to static. Hardened systems glitched and died. One commander, in desperation, ordered blind artillery fire into empty skies. That chaos was the weapon's true strike. Not missiles, not bombs, but confusion so total it paralyzed an army. Mounted on stealth drones smaller than Reapers yet faster than Predators, the system drifts into contested airspace, unseen, and silences it within a 5-mile radius. Sources suggest a triad exists: drone-based, satellite-based, and naval-based variants, a network capable of shutting down land, sea, and air in one sweep. Russia's response: within months, patents emerged, mimicking American designs. They had tried to copy what they could not see, but reverse engineering a shadow yields only fragments. No photographs exist. No official admits it. Yet whispers persist in Chinese journals calling it ghost hawk interference. Russian media, more fearful still, calls it a non-lethal blackout weapon. And so the U.S. holds its quiet crown, not in missiles, not in bombs, but in the ability to erase the senses of its enemies, to blind, deafen, and isolate entire armies without firing a shot. In the wars of the future, where information is sight and signals are breath, this weapon does not kill, it denies existence itself. And that, more than any bomb, is checkmate.